What's up, troopers? Welcome to the Notorious Scoundrels. I'm Evan. That's Mike. How you doing, Mike?
I'm good. I played a lot of Legion in the last couple.
You've been playing a lot of Legion, and we're gonna talk about it. We're not even gonna talk about all the Legion you've been playing, because there's literally too much to get through. We're also certainly going to cover the new Droid and Jedi generics and all of the fun.
Get ready,
and
people. Get ready. Get
controversy.
ready.
Mike has had so much ammo in his clip that it's actually just like falling out of the magazine.
I had a 14-hour drive to think about all of this, and I have thought it through. I never write down what we talk about on podcasts ahead of time. I have pages written. Pages.
The Dashez Treatise on the generic Jedi. All right, I'm very excited. I've heard very little of this for the listeners and viewers, by the way, so I'm going to be learning at the same time as you about whatever this is. Real quickly, though, I do want to shout out a couple patrons we have. We have a new patron, James Brett, and random patron, Auburn Alumni. Now, Auburn Alumni is certainly not new to the video portion of the podcast.
I was going to say, that's not really a random patron. That's an all-star.
Yeah, like, because, and we're saying that because he is constantly putting up pictures of his very well-painted minis and then also very well-painted terrain that is really, really impressive, and he's doing a lot from scratch. That's a good reminder that a bonus for being a member of our Patreon is that you can post on our hobby channel on our Discord, which you can gain access to as a patron. And then if you post it on there, we will cycle it through the credits that we have at the end of the Notorious Scoundrels videos, and then everybody can see your awesome work. There's been a few people doing it so far. I can tell you that guys like Auburn Alumni and then Sweet Card Bro have been just like getting a ton of exposure, and that could be you. Just saying, we are all now, we're also, Mike, now sponsored. Did you know this? You did know this.
I may have forgotten.
I've been. You forgot?
Remind me.
Yeah. So behind me, you can see a lovely table. That table is covered by first sponsors legionterrain.com. So Legion Terrain, they sent us to this table in order to promote it, and like the fact that we were able to get that is going to mean that putting together content like TFT minis that focus on sort of the visual aspects of the game, and then also the brand new Tours of Duty campaign run that I'm going to be doing with the world champ Isaiah Wallace.
Crush him, Isaiah. Crush him.
You don't have to like encourage him to do that. He's probably going to do it anyway. But even though I will be playing droids, which might have its own inherent advantages against his clones. We'll see.
We'll talk about that later today.
Yeah, that was a little preview. That's a teaser. But so legionterrain.com, we have this awesome hot table behind me. There are options to get both painted and unpainted terrain pieces from there, and you can, like, they have full sets, so you can, if you want to just get a full table at once, you can totally do that and have it be pre-painted, which is a real joy for somebody like me who just certainly does not have the time to paint terrain.
The pre-painted stuff is awesome. Like, a bunch of my locals have gotten tables from them, and it's just it makes it takes so much of the hassle out of it. I'm barely able to get my miniatures painted, and then you're gonna be like, I need to paint a table? Oh my god.
I know, right?
You gotta be joking, you know.
And it looks really good. Like, there's, I'll link to the part of the website that has the table that they sent us, which is the Ice Planet. Keeping away from copyrights over here, it's just Ice Planet. And there's a planetary ion cannon that you can see back there. That looks amazing. There's a post being blown up shield generator. There is a crashed AT-AT, and then there's a whole bunch of ice. And I do want to stress that it's called legionterrain.com. The guys that make this have kept this game in mind when they've made this, which is to say that most of this terrain that looks like it should be platformable, as in that minis should be able to sit on it, they have made it in such a way that they can sit on it. And so it's not a bunch of jaggy pieces that you're never going to be able to balance a mini on. There's some stuff that's like that, but that's more of the impassable terrain, and it has a really good mix. So we do have a coupon code so that listeners can get a discount, and it is tough to pronounce because there's a couple percentage points in numbers, but it is on our YouTube page. So if you check out the YouTube of this video, you can get a 5% off discount code for them. And then also Game Toppers. Game Toppers is it's sort of like it's a grassroots, like they have a significant operation, but it is very grassroots. Like it was formed by a family. If you're familiar with JJ's Juggernaut, he is a member of that family. He is the son of the founder of Game Toppers, and they continue to just like work together as a family with this business. And so both of these sponsors are real deal. That is like a big preference to me, as opposed to being sponsored by people that don't really have anything to do with what we're doing, or who are sort of coming at this from a less than genuine perspective. So, and what they do is that they make a few things on their website, like they have mats as well, but their main deal is that they make toppers, which is it's like an aluminum frame that you can put on top of just about any table, even if it's not regulation size, which was exactly my situation. Like the table I have in here it's something like 7 foot by 2.5 foot wide, which means the mat would be flopping off of the short end if I was just like and then I wouldn't have any extra space either. But the Game Topper is that it's very solid, and it just rests on top, and you literally use hand screws to put it together, and then it just like doesn't move. And so you basically widen the top of your table, and it also comes with these accessories you can pin on the side. So there's like cup holders, or there's a dice tower, and you can just kind of fit it in like wherever you want, and it sort of slides along. It's really cool design. Have you seen one of them, Mike?
I have, and you got to have a cup holder for your Diet Mountain Dew. You know, you gotta be ready to go.
Yeah, is that a Baja Blast that you're rocking there?
You betcha.
Yeah, they used to be an exclusive drink at Taco Bell,
and now it's not, which is like the one good thing about this year.
What do you think was the exclusivity deal for Baja Blast?
I have no idea.
It's like, all right, you have to leave this flavor to just us for like 5 years, because we've got a really good thing going,
wasn't
on.
It? Like
I don't know.
It's been a while.
We got all right. Okay, I apologize to Game Toppers. We got slightly off topic. Just to finish that up, we have
to be clear, we are not sponsored by the Pepsi.
Yeah, we are not sponsored by Baja Blast or Taco Bell. But boy, if they came a knocking, I would consider it. We have a code for them as well, TFT15. And just in case folks are worried about too much of our audio time being taken up by like sponsorship space, we're going to be mentioning these in the future, and then I'm going to be figuring out an ad situation that will be for Game Toppers, probably a separate YouTube video, and then for Legion Terrain, a portion of the video that I'm then going to cut out of the podcast feed for patrons in case these things bother you. But when I do the actual ads, I'm going to try to make them entertaining to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But just this first time around, I wanted to explain what these things are, so that way we can be much shorter with it in the future. So I apologize for all the distractions.
I don't want to apologize. I want to emphasize that these companies are companies that directly contribute to our community and our game. Like, you know, these are
That's true.
We're not here trying to like get you to buy like random stuff at the grocery store.
Right, it's accurate.
This is not the as seen on TV aisle, right?
Yeah.
That's relevant to you, and these guys are helping tournaments and hobbyists at home. So I think it's good just to have their names out there as places you can go to get stuff to help with your game. Anyways, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I should also mention about Legion Terrain specifically is that they have an email address that you can reach out to them. That if you are a store or an organizer and you're interested in getting some stuff wholesale, like they will have those conversations with you. Like they're they're very real deal. And so I agree is that if we were going to be sponsored, and it's certainly like a privilege to do that, these sponsorships, they basically amount to sending over items that are cheaper free so that we can use them for our stuff. They're not like, as of this time anyway, I can honestly say that it's not about like actually getting financial kickbacks or whatever from them. It's literally just that they send us some stuff and then we in turn re-promote them.
If next week this podcast is sponsored by Baja Blast, you can complain.
It will absolutely be financial. We would demand no less than 5% of all Baja Blast returns in exchange for our promotion.
That's just going to be all my money. I'm going to create a vicious circle.
I tell you what, like this conversation right now is actually giving me some inspiration for the campaign that I'm going to be doing with Isaiah. Like I've already come up with a concept for my army, but we're still trying to work on like the concept for his army, because we're, at the very least, I know that mine's going to be pretty goofy, and I don't want to get into what mine is quite yet. But I think I landed on a pretty fun idea. But this conversation is making me think, what about a clone army that's sponsored?
Sure. Yeah. That would be hilarious.
Like, because that would go with the armor colors really well.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. We might, Isaiah, listen, we're going to be getting in touch. So yeah, thank you to our sponsors, and just like that this is all to say, I do make sure that the people who are doing work for the site are getting paid. It's not much for anybody. It's really just to respect professionalism. And I can tell you personally that any amount that I have taken back myself has already all gone back into the website by now. So the most important thing to me is to say that this is not a business that we're doing. This is not something that we're doing to try to replace our incomes that are coming in from like the actual other places. I literally just want to like make good stuff that people like. And we are growing as a result of the support that we're getting. So I really, really do appreciate it. One last thing about that is that I think it's going to be this Tuesday, or it will already have aired by the time this one airs, actually, is that we have our first painting video, and you've seen it a little bit, Mike.
Yeah. No, it's great.
It is some really, really exciting stuff. We were able to hook up with a gentleman named Rob from the UK. He has an Instagram handle, Rob Hobbies, and he reached out to us, and we talked about the various things that he could do for a first run, and we landed on, okay, how about a crab droid? It's like relatively new, it's single mini, and he made one as a test run, and I was honestly floored by what he sent back to us. And so I feel really excited and privileged that we're now going to have some hobby stuff.
I think it's going to be very practically useful. I think
so too. Yeah.
Is like, I think that it's really, I see a lot of painting videos online that are it's like, I'm doing it, but I'm not really telling you or showing you how to like actually do the things to make it look the way that I'm making it look. I think he's able to kind of articulate that and show you, I think, in a way that is very helpful.
Really descriptive, really skilled painter, did great camera angles and did great post-production. And so I was just through the moon, and I'm really excited that we're bringing that to you. So, all right, that's all the business. Now let's get down to the real business. Let's get to the pain.
Yeah.
Let's get to giving the business, Mike.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the customizables here.
Yes.
I want to be really clear that the first segment of this is going to be us just talking about the customizables is like the unit cards and the upgrade cards and all that stuff. And I am going to attempt being the probably key word, to divorce my opinions on those cards until we get to the second half where we discuss how I really feel.
Well, we'll see how long you can keep that up, Michael.
I know, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. I'm going to struggle. I apologize in advance.
That's okay. We're all here to just talk about Legion, and what happens. But let's get into it. So we're actually going to start with the droids. there's a reason for that. So we're gonna start with basically we had the unit cards in full before, so we've already looked at those, which means that we can just jump right into what the doctrines were. And were you surprised that there were only 2 actual quad doctrines, Michael?
I think I was surprised until I saw how the programmings worked.
Right. Because, like I said, there's only 2. So there's basically, you can basically say there's the fighty one, and then there's the one that's going to get used more often than which is to say the protocol-oriented one. So the fighty one is, well, I guess we'll get to that. But the Seek and Destroy is the fighty one. You gain in training, and then you get Demoralize 1, Marksman, and Target 1. Yep. Nice and simple and straightforward. And those are good keywords.
It's definitely like it's just we're fighting, right?
Yeah. Worth pointing out that Marksman and Target go pretty well with there's a protocol in particular that goes pretty well but with the generic Droid 2 pip, the orbital bombardment, it does put you in a situation where you can use Marksman to like make that super long range attack extra accurate.
Yeah.
To, I think, probably like math wise a slightly higher degree than Kalani was able to. Not by a ton, but it's something worth pointing out. And then the Demoralize one, it's good keyword. Target one's good keyword.
It's fine.
So, sure.
There's nothing crazy about this doctrine. Right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's fine.
And then there's this other doctrine, Michael. Tyrannical Taskmaster. This unit gains another protocol slot. It's called protocol, right?
I believe it's programming.
Or programming, sorry. Another programming slot. Which, by the way, the baseline number of programming slots for these units, we should mention, is 3 for the commander and 2 for the operative. And so this one is already giving you another one.
Yeah.
And then here's the part that really matters, though, folks. This is a huge thing, and this is colors like all the rest of these conversations we're going to have. At the end of this unit's activation, ready up to 1 of its exhausted programming upgrade cards. Yeah, Mike, this is Master of the Force, right?
I mean, it's not, because it's not ready in Force upgrades, right? That is like a significant difference. I would say it's probably better than Master of the Force most of the time, because
this is what I was trying to get to.
Because I think some of these programmings in specific situations are much better than some Force upgrades. Some are worse. I think there's some hits here and there's some misses. I think this is definitely, we're going to talk about this a little later, in the like unique things that you didn't get to do before these customizable packs came out. This ability falls into that bucket, right? Like the Demoralize, Marksman, Target 1 guy, like there's nothing really special about that we haven't seen before. This is definitely something that we haven't seen before, and frankly, just like how the programmings work in general is pretty unique.
Yeah, and let's just get right into it, because there's no sense playing footsie with what we're getting at, which is to say that there are some of these programmings that exhaust that are quite powerful. Let's start with the ones that don't exhaust, just to maybe move those out of the way. So the first one is Enhanced Combat Subroutines. So that one is against Sharpshooter, and then when it attacks, the attack pool gains lethal 1. So in theory, if you did want to do a super orbital bombard, then you would combine the Seek and Destroy with Enhanced Combat Subroutines, because then you're getting an aim, you have Marksman, you also get lethal, and you get Sharpshooter 1. And so you put all that together, and you have like a pretty darn reliable Pierce 1 infinite range attack. Like, that's not bad.
No, I mean, I would go as far as to say it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Frankly.
If it weren't for, I mean, and I think that there's a decent number of builds that will just like toss that in there, right?
I think you gotta, lists are gonna be weighing whether they want to play that on turn 1 as opposed to standing orders, I think.
And there's also another one that might be weighing on turn 1 that we're going to talk about later.
Yes.
So it is a thing. It makes that card potentially a little bit more usable than it was now, and it was fine now, but I think standing orders was just so much more attractive on average. But if you're doing like a more really reliable piercing shot, I think there could be something to it, so that's a cool one. Another one that doesn't tap is Optimized Task Flow. 8 points. This unit gets direct AI unit. Whoa, Michael.
Nah, this is fine. This is just we're kind of honestly, these non-tappable cards are just sort of rebuilding the generic super attack, Frank.
Sure. The generic super attack was very good.
It was
right.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was fine. I mean, the fact of the matter is that you are going to end up paying more points for the like old super attack profile here than you would have paid originally.
That's correct when you talk about a token sharing standpoint, for sure. Although, like, I feel like it's good to mention that if you did a seek and destroy operative with with optimized task flow, then it is 73, and that one has a natural aid, so it doesn't need to take the other one that we're about to talk about. And so that can already just like punt tokens over and be directing all the time. And then for 73, only 13 points more than the generic T series. You're majorly upgrading its health and defense situation. You're broadening its AI to not just be droid trooper, it's to any AI unit. And so the way I would sort of think about that is that it's kind of a strict upgrade of a generic T series for only 13.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever.
And so I think like that's not the thing that's blowing our socks off. We're going to get to those in a second, but that's a pretty efficient use, I think. The last one that does not exhaust is strategic programming, and that is also 8 points. It gains strategize 1. Now, I feel like direct AI should be worth more points expenditure than strategize 1 personally, but maybe that's just me.
I think that there's just so many units that basically do this in this faction already.
Yeah,
that it's kind of like, yeah, whatever. I don't know.
This is the least attractive programming to me out of maybe all of them.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
all of these non-tappable ones are fine. It's okay. Whatever.
All right, let's get to the ones that possibly might not be fine. We'll see. So we're gonna start with. Do you want to start with limiter override? Let's just do that.
Yeah, let's just go down the list.
Yeah. We're going down the list. So limiter override, this is a tap-free action. Choose another allied unit that has the AI keyword within range 2 of this unit, and then you resolve one of the following effects. So you get to pick your poison here. It feels like a magic card at this point. Is either A, remove up to 3 suppression tokens, or 1 immobilized token from the chosen unit. Yep. B, the unit gains 1 aim or 1 dodge token. So this is like a tree of choices here, actually.
It's really just 5 choices.
Yeah. Yeah. Or the last one is to ready one of the chosen unit's exhausted upgrade cards. What were your first thoughts when you saw this one, Mike?
I think it's fine for I'm not.
It's very versatile.
It's very versatile.
I think this is nice.
I don't think it doesn't strike me as because it's restricted to AI units. It's not like you can like rip and immobilize off Dooku or something. You know, it's good. It's definitely it's worth 5 points for sure. I think this card is one that will scale. I haven't thought of anything busted you can do with the exhausted upgrade card bit, but that's going to be the portion that is. If this upgrade ever gets to be in the busted territory, it's going to be because it unexhausts somebody's upgrade card that does something silly. Fortunately or unfortunately, I guess, depending on how you feel about CIS, they don't have a ton of gear that taps or anything. They don't have whipcords or armaments that you're tapping, at least not off the top of my head. But that's not to say that they won't in the future. I mean, I think the best thing that you could probably be unexhausting at this point is an ordinance on a persuader or AAT or something.
Yeah, and it's worth double mentioning just so folks are clear that EXD cannot take these. They can't take they cannot take the customizables, and so
these would be so cracked in EXD.
I know that. This would be a total mess in ASD. There's a lot of things in here that would actually be a total mess in EXD, but thankfully that is not something that we have to be concerned with. The closest thing is an ordnance or an HQ uplink, but there's nothing really busted about that, right?
And maybe sage you a recover action or something.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's not bad, but it doesn't strike me as broken. You know. Yeah.
But the versatility of this is just really, really nice. And there are, even though they're droids, I promise, there are many situations where being able to just do a quick Inspire 3 is really, really, really solid. Like that could be the difference between losing a point and keeping it. So yeah, really good card there. I think that's going to see just like a broad inclusion in a lot of these lists. So next one, Overclock. Free action tap. Choose another allied unit that has the AI keyword within range 2. The chosen unit makes a speed 2 move, then gains 1 immobilized token. And so this is a potential synergy with limiter override, is that you could be overclocking a unit and then immediately override them so that you take away the penalty. Mike, what do you think about this one?
This is very close to free action guidance.
Indeed.
It obviously can't be a standby, but outside of that, it's basically free action guidance. Yoda is upset. That's what I'll say. Yoda's not happy.
We're gonna get to what an actual guidance will cost the generic Jedi later, and I think it brings up an interesting comparison when we get to that.
Yeah, this is very strong. I'm not sure that there's a ton more to say about it than that.
This is really, really strong.
Yeah.
In case you haven't been listening to our minis or listening to us, at least our opinion is that moves are the best action in the game by leaps and leaps and leaps and bounds, even better than attacks in the grand scheme of things, because you need to score. Also, getting free moves can enable you to attack when you were not able to do that before. Yep. It's also worth noting that this is any unit that has the AI keyword, which means that you can be doing a speed 2 move with something like a snail tank or an AAT.
That don't normally have speed 2 moves, to be clear.
Normally cannot go that fast. I haven't done like the math per se, but an AAT moving speed 2, I'm not sure where that compares to like a T-47 moving speed 3 in terms of like raw speed.
Sure.
But it's probably like not that far off.
Yeah. This also like you can speed 2 move your aquas.
That is absolutely true.
Just in case you need to reposition your wall.
Just in case the infiltrate and the reinforcements that you get from the Kalani 3 pip was not enough to get your aquas close. Boy, it's just so good. 5 points. 5 points. Just it feels dirty.
We're getting very close to being able to like charge your opponent with magnas in their deployment zone between like.
Certainly another big one. For sure.
You know, between reinforcements, this, and then like, it's getting there.
Next one, slice comms. We were talking about force powers a second ago. This is what I was thinking about when I mentioned that. So this is a tap exhaust, exhaust free action. Choose an enemy unit within range 2 and line of sight of this unit. The chosen unit gains 2 suppression tokens, and if the chosen unit has a face-up order, you shuffle it back into the order pool. So it is Jedi Mind Trick plus Turning the Tide as a free action, which you could do every single turn. Obviously, there is a huge caveat to that, which is that being within range 2 and line of sight of an enemy unit is not nothing when you are these, like...
No. Let's back that up a second.
Sorry, okay? Go ahead.
Yeah. Let's back that up. So this is situated in the faction with Dooku, which means you have cunning. You can play this, and you'll be able to get this guy in order on like a cunning 1 pip, no problem.
Yes,
you can do
this. Ways to do that.
Yeah, there are a bunch of ways to do that, right? But I'm articulating that as like the easiest scenario to like kind of work it up, right? You can do this from range 4 away. This is a free action. You can move, and then do this. And this abilities like this are normally templated to not target commanders and operatives for a reason.
Yeah, even something like Turning the Tide is a 2 pip, and like that's not limited.
The Tide gives your supports Inspire 2. That's the card you mean.
What's the Imperial one?
Pin down.
Pin down. So pin down is not restricted in terms of the targets, but it is a 2 pip. And it's also restricted to basically like functionally vehicles or E-webs. And so
it's also a command card effect.
And it's that's the biggest thing, Mike, is that I said force powers before, but this is like... This is, to me, this effect is somewhere between a force push and all like every single other force power in terms of like the raw ability to affect the game state.
Yeah, this I don't want to jump leaps and bounds here, because I would like to put these on the
Mike,
table.
Say it's not even particularly close for the fans.
I'm not convinced that's true here.
Okay.
I will probably say that at some point today. I promise.
Sorry, fans. All right.
But I do think that playing focus pieces gets a lot more difficult when this is on the table. Focus pieces need orders. They need timing. Timing is one of the most important things, particularly in the game we're playing now. The ability to just be like, yeah, you don't get timing. Go, get out of here. That's not even to mention that there are at least off the cuff 5 to 10 command cards that require you to have a face-up order to like be triggering their effect. Hondo's 3-pip, call me captain. Like there's a bunch of just things that like, Boba's 3-pip that like require you to sit there with a face-up order for you to be getting, and this like 8-point upgrade is just like, yeah, you don't get your thing. Like, have fun.
At WTC, there was a game where I was able to play Double the Fall against Son of Skywalker. And so I chucked his order back into the pool, and that allowed me to shoot him 3 times and kill Operative Luke before he could slice the hell out of me. And that won me the game.
And this is Double Fall with no drawback.
Right. But the theoretical drawback of Double the Fall is that Obu, you don't get your Dooku order, but you usually have pretty decent order control so that you can get there eventually.
It's tougher now than it used to be, right?
Yeah, that's fair. But also that is a command card. Let's just remind folks that you can only do once in the game, and this is something that you could do multiple times in the game if you have the Master of the Force. I should quit saying that. The Tyrannical Taskmaster Doctrine. It is super powerful. I mean, that's just what it is. It's super powerful.
Yep.
I
think this is definitely the most powerful.
It's certainly the one that has the potential to affect game state the most. You need to know what you're doing in order to not have your commander like die very quickly after this effect happens. But I mean, sometimes even if he does die, the thing that you achieved with this effect will have been worth doing it once and then letting him go to the wolves.
Oh, for sure.
We're a little concerned.
This is definitely, I guess 8 points is how much you have to pay for a busted upgrade these days.
Either 8 or 40. It's one of the two. And I think Force Push is still costed appropriately.
This card is definitely better than Force Push.
Better. Okay. I can't be on the same page with you on that one, Michael.
That I do feel confident about.
I think we're gonna need to save it for another podcast. Do you think that this or Command and Control is so you think this is better than Command and Control, right?
Yes, and it's not even close.
There you go, fans.
Yes,
it finally happens.
I think Command and Control uplink is pretty busted. This is this is on a different tier. This is in a game where this really matters. Solid. This is the one you're refreshing every time, and you're just kicking your opponent's Yoda token back to their bag every turn, which sounds absolutely miserable.
Yeah,
as the person who has to play against it to be.
I will say that there's some lists where this would merely be annoying.
Yes.
I'm thinking of if you're running against Ewoks, right?
Yep.
There's a couple of those where you really do want that face up, but
you're kind of
against,
you're mostly order agnostic, right?
Most Rebel lists in general, honestly, aside from if you're running Op Luke, which is a big caveat to that.
If you're running Op Luke and your orders getting kicked back to your pool every turn, you're not a happy camper.
Oh no, I know that's what I'm saying. But a toxic Brian Bear double land speeder list probably wouldn't care so much about this, and so. That's my argument for the Force Push thing is that Force Push is good against every list, and there are going to be situations where this actually is not going to be a game-winning play to rush in and use a slice comms. That's all I'm saying.
I think the amount of games that this will be relevant will be higher than the amount of games that Force Push is relevant.
Ooh.
I think my experience with Force Push is that it's relevant about 60% of the time, and
sure.
that
that seems fair.
that either your opponent has vehicles contesting the POI that you're unable to force push, or you can't go last, or force push doesn't actually change the math to swing in one person's favor, like you're taking the point anyways sort of situation. Don't get me wrong, force push is very good.
Sometimes just by charging, you're happily sitting in melee with the guy you wanted to be in melee with anyway, and so there's not really anybody you want to force push.
Yes, and this upgrade has a higher range, and I think the potential to do way more damage than force push. But if we were talking about old force push, where you could like trigger standbys and stuff with it, I would agree with you. The force push is definitely better.
Fair.
But I think in a world where force push is just strictly a speed 1 move and it really doesn't do anything else, I think this has a way higher potential upside.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm gonna be really curious to see how this plays out in games. We'll finish with the last one, targeting relay. This is also like a crazy effect, and it's the sort of thing that would be more attention grabbing if it wasn't for the slice comms thing. But this is just a straight up exhaust and free action. Each enemy unit within range 4 and in line of sight gains 1 observation token. Now it sounds crazier than it actually is, right? Because you usually want to concentrate your fire on a unit to finish it off or get it to a point where it's going to be contributing less attack dice. And so if you're seeing their whole army, like you're going to be wasting probably like 80% of those observation tokens.
Yeah.
So
this is the least good one. I actually think this one's kind of a trap.
It seems better than it is. Like the idea of getting that many obs tokens out, like if this was give aim tokens to your whole army, then busted. But giving observation tokens out to their whole army is actually not what you want to do. If you have obs tokens, you would rather concentrate them on one unit so that everybody can shoot at them and take care of business.
Yeah, it's probably like okay if you're playing Bring Them to Heal and you're like split firing and stuff.
Yeah,
it definitely incentivizes you split firing.
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, each observation token is worth roughly like half a hit. Against the average target, that's going to mean the average observation token's worth about a quarter of a wound. It's fine. I don't think that this is insanely busted. If there's ever a way to like spend observation tokens differently, like with Cody, this becomes insane.
Yeah,
but I don't think CIS has access to an ability.
They don't have that yet. But yeah, one can imagine just a droid that is just like sitting in the back, and it's gonna do limiter override, and it's gonna start by directing, and then do a limiter override, and then do an overclock, and then do a targeting relay, and then just recover.
Yeah,
and do all of that over again the next turn.
Yeah,
like that certainly seems like, and it feels thematic, right? It feels like the sort of thing a support droid would do. So there's not anything inherently bad about that. And like funny enough, the one that we're sort of more worried about is the one that involves it getting up into an opponent's face and messing with their guys.
Yeah, but I think that one's probably best on the. I don't know. It's tough to say. You can build these a couple different ways. I think you can build a very combat one that is still got the tyrannical taskmaster doctrine, because I don't think you're really giving up that much for giving up Seek and Destroy.
I agree.
Particularly because there's a couple of gear things that we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah, so from a gear perspective, I believe there's 2 specific gear, right?
Yep.
So there is the expanded data banks, which just gives you another programming slot. So if you're up to 5. For those counting at home, you can have up to 5.
Just in case you want your recover actions to really matter.
Yeah, to matter like the most in the game's history, basically. You would just, at that point, you would just toss an HQ uplink on just because you can. I want to recover like 8 cards at once. So yeah, that one is what it is. I am sure there's going to be interesting builds that actually use 5 programming slots. I'm not sure how good that would be, but I will be curious about it. And then the other one is mobility upgrade, which is that this unit gains scale and steady. Scale is a keyword that just makes me sad every time I see it in the current day and age, because I remember the old scale, the before times when Wookiees were just like launching themselves over buildings and getting extra fast from it. But I mean, the main reason for this is steady, and I think like it's good to remind folks here that the mainline weapon is just a 3 dice range 1 to 3 surgeon to hit blaster. There is another weapon that we'll talk about. I'm not sure how good it is, but like, do you think the mobility upgrade is worth it at 8?
So I think I'm not sure. Yeah. I think that it kind of lets you to recover for free every turn is kind of how I'm thinking about this. It allows you to like recover, move, shoot.
Sure.
Which seems like a pretty good sequence of actions on a slowly advancing super attack up the field that wants to also end up kind of being a little close. And it allows
it's like 8 points to enable a 3 black dice shot every round.
Yeah, which is like,
think about it.
Which is like, okay, you know, it definitely will make sure that you get to move, recover, and shoot. You know,
yeah,
is that worth it? I don't know. You know, I'm willing to, I mean, free stuff is good generally.
Yeah.
8 points for steady is okay. You know, steady on a 3 black die shot, definitely whelming, and that's not the last time we're going to say that today.
I think I know when the word whelming is going to come up a lot.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think the super attack is probably cheap enough that this is probably worth taking.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it as like getting an extra attack as a functionally a free action every round, I can definitely see it. I think that it's easy to just like sort of look at the gun and not be all that impressed by it because it's not all that impressive, but it is, you know, that's a suppression that's sometimes going to be damage that sneaks through.
And it also steady allows you to have a theoretical range band of up to 5.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know, because it's not a range 2 gun, it's 1 to 3.
Right. So yeah, it's a thing. Let's talk about the armaments. First, I'm going to talk about the heavy arm cannon. This was the most mystifying upgrade to me from a cost perspective, and maybe you can shed light on why it might be this much. But it's a range 1 to 2 suppressive, 2 red, 3 white, and that's it. Gun. It's 20 points.
Yeah,
it's a lot. It seems like a lot.
It is. I suspect the reason that this is costed the way it is because once you factor in the command card, you can drop 7 suppression on any unit of your choosing in a single activation. Is my hunch. Well,
if you're talking about the 1 pip, right?
I guess it's not
because you would have to kill the first unit to double attack.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe so. That's probably not true. I don't know. This is kind of like a marginal upgrade over the gun it's already got.
Yeah,
and it is shorter range. There's no way I think to give this arsenal 2.
Not currently, correct.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's fine. This
is the kind of thing that makes me think that there used to be a way to get Arsenal too, and then they took it away.
Yeah,
which is why it's 20 points.
I agree with that assessment. I can see this coming down. At the same time, I think that this unit is going to be powerful enough without this upgrade that I'm not sure that's going to matter.
Yeah. All right. So by comparison, we have the Electrostaff. For 10 points, you get double rainbow, so 2 red, 2 white, 2 black. Critical 1. This unit gains charge and immune melee pierce.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's fine.
If you want to be running the combat-ish guy, then like I feel like this is the situation that you're going for, is to get into melee and be fighting with this with immune pierce.
You take the combat subroutines to get lethal, and
the Electrostaff is pretty good.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's a good value for 10 points. If you want to be charging in there, I think this is like what to me is the sort of solid upgrade option that makes a customizable feel more like a customizable. So
agreed.
Solid all the way around. So let's talk command cards. There are 2 of them. The first one is Exterminate. So when it's issued, an order with this card, it gains Demoralized, and then additionally, if you defeat a enemy unit with an attack, then you get to make another free attack action.
It's the Ahsoka 1 pip kind of effect, where if you kill the first thing, you get to attack again.
Yeah, which is good when it works.
This seems like it's going to be way more unlikely.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna have to like shoot like a solo or like a 2-man squad to like be sure you're gonna get the effect. I was right though. You can drop 7 suppression tokens on something
because of the demoralized.
even if you don't kill it. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah. Exterminate's fine, I think. I'm not like overly, this is like what a 1-pip should be.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Good reminding folks that because Seek and Destroy gives you Demoralize 1, you would have Demoralize 3.
Yep.
And then you could make a suppressive shot, and then you could
drop 2 suppression.
You could do slice comms with, So it's not bad.
Yeah.
That's getting into the
That's getting into the
territory.
That's getting into Panic Yoda range.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's, and I think that there's going to be plenty of lists out there that aren't running enough uniques that they would prefer to have their 1-pips. And so for those lists, I think that this will be like a really solid choice to toss in there. And then we got Tactical Download, Mike. Tactical Download is a 3-pip. You order 3 AI units or Droid Trooper units, and then you place 4 AIM tokens, 4 dodge tokens on the card. So it's kind of like that Maul 3-pip where you put stuff on the card and then most people can use it. So each time an allied Droid Trooper or allied unit with the AI keyword attacks or defends this round, it may spend 1 token on this card as if it had that token. If it does, for each token an allied unit spends in this way, after the effect is resolved, it gains an immobilized token. Now, the timing here is super important when we're talking about this, because outside of a standby attack, if you're using aims with this, it means that it would be during your activation. And if it's during your activation, you would also get the immobilized token during your own activation.
Yep.
Immobilized tokens go away at the end of any activation from that unit. This is the reason why Burst of Speed gives you the immobilized token at the end of the round instead of giving it to you right then, because then it would just go away after you use it and it would have 0 downside / sometimes upside. But it is true that if you're spending the dodge tokens on this, you're going to be taking immobilized that you have to deal with on your next activation, unless you're weirdly doing it while you're triggering a standby yourself. But there's no range restriction on this is another thing I should just doubly mention. Even Yoda, Michael, has a range restriction when it comes to sharing those tokens. I'm going to hold my fire a little bit. What do you think about this one?
This is twice as good as Luminous. This is Luminous times 2. You literally get twice as many aims and dodges. And
this is great content, Mike. You're doing a great job.
There's basically no drawback for using the aim tokens. And
for the aim tokens, yes.
Unless you shoot move, which like how many times do you do that in Legion these days? The answer is not often. The dodge token ones, for the dodges, you can just be like, okay, is an immobilized going to crush me here? If yes, don't spend the dodge token. If no, spend the dodge token. Like, no big deal, right? I don't know. I'm not happy about this card existing. I think it's just, this is on a generic that is going to be like sub 100 points. This is like if every support commander in a faction had access to Luminous, like what is the world that we would be living in? I guess we're going to find out. I think the drawback on this card feels like not really a drawback, unless they are intending on changing the timing of Immobilize. I'm going to be honest. When I read this card originally, I thought they made a mistake, and I think it's possible they made a mistake in that something has been left off this card, or someone did not realize that the immobilized token does not matter when using the aim.
The other possibility, like you mentioned, is that they actually changed the immobilized rules in some way to make it so that if you gain the token during the activation, then
you hold it.
You hold it.
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. I that's pure speculation at this point. I really don't have anything other than this card to like defend to suggest that might happen. I think it's actually pretty unlikely that happens.
I agree. I think it's most likely that this stays how it is. And then if it stays how it is, then you can sort of, even if the dodge thing didn't exist, this would be an incredibly, incredibly good card. because of what we said, is that if it current as it is during your activation, there's no downside that it's unlimited range aim tokens. It's just one per attack, but there are plenty of other ways to get aims when it comes to link targeting array, exemplar, strategize. The list goes on.
You can double up. This is kind of like a second layered exemplar, right? Like normally you can only spend one token during exemplar, right? Well, this kind of lets you spend two, right? So now we're getting into like old clone token, like actual luminous sharing, right?
Yeah, and it's 3 if it's like you have one from LTA, you're using one from Exemplar, and then you're using one from Tactical Download. And so the Aqua Droid shots were already quite reliable with 2 aim tokens when it was just LTA and Exemplar, and now you could make those extra reliable and then create a situation where you're more likely to have exemplar tokens left over for shooters aside from the aquas, so you can sort of pass down the fun to something like ion spiders, who and it basically lets you expand. The way I was looking at this is like looking at a turn 1 alpha where it's a double aqua, double ion spider, and that each of those can at least have access to 2 aims for round 1 shooting, which is a lot. And like the threat range of that is a lot. It's possible to stay away from all that, but you are huddling at the tiniest sliver of your own deployment zone to the point where you would be limiting yourself like pretty badly. And with the free move that you can get, like when the free speed 2 move, there would be at least a couple shots where you can't avoid that just by hiding in your own deployment zone at the very edge of the table. So
yeah, it's worth noting that this combos extremely well with attack protocols.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, if you're taking this command card and you're taking things that could take attack protocols, you're going to take attack protocols, I think, because it's insane.
Yeah. There is a limiting factor here, which is that it's a 3-pip, and 3-pip is very often a very valued slot in droids. So, like, to give an example, if you have Asajj on your list, then you're taking her 3-pip for sure, so that you can actually give her Mikashi. I think that's still, in the grand scheme of things, worth more than this. The thing that I think it may replace, in my opinion, is the Kalani 3-pip. Like, reinforcements is extremely good effect, but if you're talking about having mega reliable attacks on that round 1 alpha, if that's what you're going for, like, I think that could be worth more. And so,
I'm gonna be honest, I think I'd just drop Asajj out of the list.
You think you just okay, and again, that's only for a list with Asajj. So you can easily imagine a list without Asajj, where you have Kalani and this guy, and so those are your 2 3-pips, and then you could actually still have Grievous in that list because nobody cares about his 3-pip. Still, sadly enough. RIP crushed them since it started existing. And so he's maybe not quite as effective as Asajj, but he's still pretty effective, and he's a charge in and hurt people kind of dude, and you would have to run the operative version of the command droid if you were going to do that, just from a slots perspective, but that's not a huge sacrifice.
No.
And so, like, that sounds just really good. You have a big turn 1 alpha, you get a charger in, like the list that I was putting together, it's that, and then you just swarm with a bunch of geos, and their job is going to be to get on points and peekaboo and harass and just like kind of exist, and you can still be in the 13 activation zone with a list like that. And I think that this could potentially be really, really, really good.
I want to be really clear. It's not potentially really good.
Sorry.
This command card is excellent.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's no potentially about it.
And we were excited about the Republic 3-pip, which we'll get to. We still are. But, this I think tempered it a little bit for both of us.
We'll get to my takes on the Jedi once we're done talking.
So we're going to get to that pretty much now, but is there anything you wanted to say about the droids in totality before we actually get to that?
They are interesting. Once you understand what is going on, I think of all the customizables For me, it was really difficult's not the right word, but it was confusing to wrap my head around what they were trying to do here. Was, I think, when I originally saw these, it took me like 20 minutes to be like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be trying to do. There's just a lot of, unlike all the other customizables where like you pick like maybe 3 or 4 things max, like you're picking like somewhere in the realm of like 4 to 8 different options on your super tack between the doctrine, the programmings, the weapon, the gear slots. You know, there's just a lot going on here. Not necessarily a bad thing. It's pretty complicated on what you should and should not be doing. And I think I would go as far as to say that this is definitely the most customizable of the customizables by, I think, a pretty decent margin.
I agree, and you know, at the very least, I do think that I still think that the Jedi is still the second most customizable, even though it takes a step down.
We can talk about that, Evan.
All right, we'll talk about that one. But now that we can look back on all 4, I feel like there's plenty of options in everything except for, I feel like the one that's the most limited is Empire, where it basically feels like there's 2 options.
Sure.
But where there's either charge stun baton guy or sit in the back and generate tokens guy. And that's like kind of it. But you know, I think that this is maybe the best realization of what the core concept was in terms of having just like a whole bunch of different options. And that's despite the fact that there's only 2 doctrines and 2 weapons, which is interesting.
This is definitely like a build a character. Like this feels like, oh, I want this keyword, I'm going to add it. I want this keyword, I'm going to add it. I want this I want this effect, I'm going to add it. And it's less I'm buying this thing and buying like multiple things wholesale kind of, you know, which I think there are perks to both of those, but this is definitely way more custom than the others.
I'm writing down something that, because I feel duty bound to try to rebut you slightly.
You don't even know what my argument's gonna be.
I think I know part of it, so I'm just writing something down that we're gonna get to very soon. So let's talk about the Jedi, Mike.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're going to talk about them. So this is one where probably like the conversation will be a little bit briefer up front.
Yes,
and then I would broaden it out.
Yeah.
So we already know everything. I guess the thing that we discovered was the cost and the slots, because I think that we didn't. No, we did know those before because they were on the German slide. So
yep.
So yeah, we can just get right into the upgrades. So you were right, Michael. There was one doctrine that had been hidden from us by the Wookiee document because it is Jedi Knight General only. So we'll start with that one. And that is, it gains a command upgrade slot, which normally neither of these have. So that's cool. And then it gains Action Bolster 2, Direct Clone Trooper, and Inspire 1. That I think that the highlight of this is the Direct Clone Trooper, in my opinion.
This card, just so that we're all really clear, says
5 points, by
this
the way.
unit gains 1 command upgrade slot. This unit gains Direct Clone Trooper and Inspire 1. That is what this card says.
Correct. I think it's worth mentioning that sitting back and generating 2 surge tokens with an action is, at least to me, not a recipe for how you're going to be spending your 110 at the very minimum point unit.
I play Padme a lot at this point, like almost exclusively in all my Republic armies. The amount of
how much do you bolster?
Very close to 0. like it's just not worth it. It is not worth the time or effort. It is not worth giving up a move action to do this.
I wish this was free action bolster 1. I think that
would.
I think that could have been more expensive, but I think it would have made it a more interesting choice.
Yep.
So,
you know,
but I mean, either way,
it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
this
is like a good doctrine. It's good. We're already starting it. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to the 2 doctrines that I think are a little bit more troublesome in terms of being a choice. So the one that I think is the most troublesome is the Jedi Negotiator. Now, I'm gonna be curious if we ever get the chance to ask AMG why this is called Jedi Negotiator and what about them like says that they have it. So it gains an extra training slot. And then it gets this attack, Force Shove, which is range 1 to 2, blast, spray, suppressive. Spray, that's awesome. Getting excited, right? 1 white dice.
You know, I don't even care about that. I just want to know why we've got an attack that implies that the units you are attacking are going to move around, and there's not scatter on here. Like what? Excuse me?
It would make more sense if it was scatter instead of suppressive.
Yeah, it would.
Or if it was like a regular attack pool instead of spray, that also would have made more sense. And then have scatter on top of suppressive. Sure.
I'm going to bury the lead a little bit here, but like this is the first inkling we're going to see here of this box being a narrative flavor fail.
Oh my gosh. That's called a hook.
Yeah.
So now they have to stay on while we finish talking about these cards until the end. So yeah, I think because this is the last time we're going to be talking about this one, this weapon is not very good. The Jedi does not surge, and it is actually like you can give it access to surge tokens, but if you're using those on a spray attack that functionally gives you B1
in the event that you want to shoot like Riot Control Squad, take this upgrade.
Yeah, exactly. If you're shooting at like a B1 unit, then only then will you equal the raw dice power of the Riot Control Squad ranged attack. The power. Yeah, force shove, everybody. Whatever. That's quite an attack. That's all you get for the whole doctrine. All right, so moving on from that, this one is at least more interesting. Jedi Consular for 8 points, almost the most expensive. You gain a force upgrade slot, so that's cool. And you get steady. That could be cool. You also get a attack force blast, which also doesn't have scatter, but is range 1 to 2, blast, impact 2, and this one is 3 black dice. So the force slot, sure. The force blast, I think, will actually basically never get used for a reason we'll talk about in a second. Steady is the interesting part of this, right, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would say that this is about as interesting as steady on the 3-die attack on the super attack. Like, it's fine, I guess. Like
okay.
I mean, it's worse because you're not surging.
There is access. This involves access to a significantly better weapon than what.
Sure, yeah. If you want to build a more expensive Cad Bane, that's definitely your prerogative.
Okay, all right. We're gonna hold on that one. Just remember that this one does give you steady, and so that's gonna factor into a later part of this conversation.
Sure.
Now let's talk about the real one. The real doctrine.
Yeah.
Is Jedi Guardian.
Yep.
Because Jedi Guardian gives you charge and surge to hit, and your melee weapons, it's a weird plural there, maybe that'll matter someday, gain lethal 1.
Yep.
So there's 2 ways to look at this. One way to look at it is that this is the doctrine that lets your Jedi be a Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
There is another option there when we get to the weapons part in terms of just like having charge, because the idea of it...
I want to hold this conversation. We're gonna come back to this.
All right. So anyway, you get a lot of stuff that makes your attacking significantly better, and then the fact that this gives you charge will also matter when we get to one of the weapons. So that's the doctrines, and just to double mention, the general can take all 4, but the knight cannot take General of the Republic, which is the direct clone trooper one. So that's that. Force powers. There were no new force powers in the set. I think that. I'm just going to table that because that factors into the bigger conversation. So moving on to training. So you're right again, there are 4 trainings, which means that there was one that was not named in that document because for some reason they didn't want Guidance Corps Trooper in the Wookiee Battle Force, which I think is funny. So
the reason you can't do it there probably is that the only thing that you could guidance is actually a clone trooper, because the Wookiees don't count as core at that point. So I think it's probably left out just to prevent confusion.
To not confuse people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that is accurate. The clone infantry and then later marksman is going to be the only thing that you couldn't guidance. So yeah, anyway, that one is Jedi Training Tactical Acumen. It's 8 points and it gives you guidance core trooper.
So before we dive...
What do you think? Or, sorry, how do you want to do this?
Well, I just wanted to dive in here because I actually found this really confusing until I actually understood what was happening here. Jedi Training is the actual name of the upgrade. which means that you cannot take multiple Jedi trainings on a Jedi, to be clear.
Is that because it's... Because it's weird, because there's Jedi training, comma, double dot, Force Adept.
The comma on upgrade cards denotes the subtitle. Yeah, exactly.
Is this the first upgrade card with the subtitle?
No, like Echo, Marksman, and stuff have this too. It's just the dot comes before the OG part of the card, right?
Got it.
So because the actual card name is Jedi Training, you can't take multiple card names named Jedi Training. And I bring this up because it was about 2 to 3 days after these cards released that I realized you couldn't take multiple Jedi trainings on a Jedi. Okay, this is not like the programmings on the droid where you can take multiple of these. You can take one, and you can have up to 2 copies of that one in your army. So you can have like 2 Jedi that have tactical acumen or whatever. I just wanted to make that clarifying statement because I thought it was really confusing.
I'm going to be honest. I learned that just now, and I'm a professional. I do this for a living. Remember, I was talking about it earlier. No, that is interesting. It's like it's a little saddening also to me.
Like these cards definitely should just be Force Adept, Master Duelist, Peacekeeping Mission, Tactical Acumen. I don't know why
they limited them.
Well, the reason they did that is that they limited it so that you couldn't take Force Adept and Master Duelist on one guy. But I'm not sure that really, like, I don't know. Maybe
so
there was
get Gem 3 because Gem 3 would knock your socks off.
Yeah, I don't know. Nothing here that like combos really stands out to me as being a problem. Maybe there's more Jedi trainings or something in the future. I don't know. Anyways, this is how they decided to do it. It's confusing, but we have explained it. So please move forward with that understanding.
Yeah, I appreciate that interlude because that definitely does matter. So Guidance Core Trooper, like you've been playing Yoda a lot. In this very small preview of later conversation, but how many times do you think you used guidance at Crucible, in which you played 7 games of Legion? Right? You played 7?
I played 8 because I played a warm-up game too.
Okay, so 8 games of Legion. How many times did you use guidance?
Probably somewhere between like 6 and 10 times.
Okay.
But there's a real big asterisk on this. The amount of times I used it on a core unit was 0.
Aha. That is, and one can, because like you were usually using it on commandos, I'm guessing, or maybe arcs.
Commandos or arcs, yeah.
One can see why they made this limited because they didn't want Joe Schmo Jedi to have an equivalent ability to Master Yoda, and to be fair, nobody except Yoda has a non-limited version of guidance. So like Lando's is limited, this is limited, the Veers is limited. And so I get it, but limiting it to Core Trooper in Republic actually is pretty limiting.
It is. It means that you can't, like if you're taking multiple Jedi, you can't recover each other's force powers. You can't, like there are cool things that you could do if this was not limited. Because it is limited, it is significantly less cool. I'm not saying it's not good. I think that am I going to pay for it? Probably not. I think that you can construct a list that has like 2 Jedi operatives that have guidance core trooper and do some like, I'm going to move Ahsoka twice and then she's going to go and move twice and trigger charge. Like that's a lot of resources into that sequence of events. And it's probably not good enough to warrant you investing like 200 points into moving your Ahsoka twice. But like, is it a thing you can do? Yes. Is it cool? Kinda.
It's thematic at least. I think it maybe doesn't need to be 8 points, but I see it as an option for what it's worth. So moving on to Force Adept. This unit gains action jump 2 and 1 force upgrade. So for those keeping track, if you have Consular and Adept on the Jedi General, then you can have 4 force slots, which is interesting in its own right. And then the other part of this is that when it would expend, which is to say discard 1 or more force upgrades, you exhaust them instead. And so the first thing that's obviously going to jump to people's minds of this is burst of speed. Is that this training turns burst of speed into an exhaust. And then the other ones that expend that Jedi have access to are clairvoyance and tranquility.
Yep. There are exactly,
which are the new ones. There are 3 right now.
Yes.
So let's actually talk about the rest of the trainings before we talk about like what do you think is going to be the one that most people take?
Sure.
Because I think it's actually an interesting conversation. So the other one you had already mentioned is Master Duelist. So this is one where it says if this unit has block, why would it have block? We'll get to that in a second. It gains outmaneuver. If it does not, it gains block instead. And this unit's melee weapons gain critical 1, and this unit gets jump 1. So it's sort of it gives you like a lot of sort of moderate things instead of giving you like a couple super good things. But then the last one I'll mention is Jedi Training Peacekeeping Mission, which gives you Prepared Position, Sentinel, and the big one is Reliable too. So that you just like you have your Darkness Descends effects built in right up front. So like with these trainings, I think that there's not necessarily a mega standout in my opinion compared to the Doctrine situation. But do you disagree with that?
I think 2 of these are basically unplayable. But I think 2 of these are interesting, and one of those 2 is actually good.
Ooh, okay. So let's start with unplayable. That would be the guidance one.
Yep. So Tactical Acumen and Master Duelist, I think, are pretty close to unplayable.
Yeah.
For what you're getting for what you're paying for, it's just not.
Yeah,
you're not getting anything.
It's not worth the 8 points. Like the Master Duelist, I think I get what they were going for is that they were going for sort of an all-comers vanilla training that gives you access to a bunch of different little things. And jump 1, having access to jump can certainly be very important. The block to outmaneuver thing, the problem is that even though there is the single-bladed saber, which we'll talk about in a second, does give you block, having outmaneuver doesn't matter if you don't have dodge tokens, and aside from their 1 pip, there's not like a built-in way to get them dodge tokens.
Block also does not matter unless you have dodge tokens.
Yeah, that's actually probably like the more important part of that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, like both of those things require
both
of those things require dodge tokens. There is no way on any of these cards outside of taking force reflexes.
There is reflexes, is true. But it's another 5 points and is timing dependent, and it's probably not the thing that you're going to be wanting to bring back with Master of the Force.
Yeah, no. Block and outmaneuver on these guys is garbage. It's really not good.
It's not really great. So that means there's 2 that are at least interesting, and I'm guessing that you're going to say the one that is significant is sort of in the middle is Force Adept. Is that right?
Yeah. So I think Force Adept falls into the category of and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more later, but we can kind of preview it a little bit now, of unique effects that we have not seen in the game right now. And that unique effect here is being able to use discarded force powers multiple times. I think the caveat here is that the ones we have access to right now are really not super great. Particularly, so one of the things about this is that it doesn't refresh them, right? Like it's just it's just like there's
still need a way to do that.
You still need to find a way to refresh them, whether that's your Master of the Force in them with the general, or you're taking recover action or whatever.
There's also a command card with this that enables that.
That command card specifically with this is like probably what you want to be doing. Yeah. But Burst of Speed isn't even like that good of a thing to have multiple times unless you also have Force Push, which I don't know. I think the issue with Force Adept is that in order to make this card sing, I think we're going to need more force powers, which we don't have right now, that also discard, and B, you're going to jack the price on this guy up into the Anakin, Yoda, Obi-Wan range really quickly, because you're going to have to in order to make this card do what you want it to do. You're like, if you're taking this card, you're taking like 4 force powers, and they're going to be expensive.
Yeah.
You know, it's So.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that having access to jump can be very, very helpful for
the jump
making
is nice.
The most out of your mobility.
For sure.
And to me, there would be games where even if I was able to use burst of speed twice, I still wouldn't actually need to do it. And so you wouldn't do it because then you still have to deal with the immobilized token aspect.
Right.
Even as like having played quite a bit of Dooku, I cannot think of very many games where I really would have needed, with one of the most powerful expensive Jedis in the game, where I really would have needed to use burst of speed twice with him if I had access to it.
Yeah,
and that's a guy with force push.
Yeah, and like the thing about burst is that if your intent is to burst every turn, you're really just like bursting and then going your normal speed every turn.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like okay, I guess.
So, I have a little bit more about this one, but I'm going to save it until the end of your treatise. The one I think that we are both in agreement is the most powerful one is Peacekeeping Mission, ironically.
Yep.
Reliable 2 is the main reason why this is extra good, but don't discount the fact that prepared position can actually be really useful. It is always optional.
Yep.
So if the board state is such that you don't want to do it, then you don't have to. There are, like, if you played enough Anakin, you take that prepared position plenty of times.
Yeah, and if you play Vader, you know how good Reliable 2 is. Like,
Yeah.
And to boot, like, these guys don't surge natively unless you're on the Guardian. I don't want to call this a mandatory upgrade, but I do think it is like a mandatory, like, if you're gonna buy a luxury upgrade on this guy, like this is like as close to mandatory as you can get without actually being mandatory, I think, because they don't really surge in either direction with frequency, particularly not at the top of the turn without activating.
If you're not, like, I think that if you have a General of the Republic guy, then this feels pretty dang mandatory for that, because they're not going to have the surge to hit that you're going to get from Jedi Guardian.
Yep.
And then it obviously helps a ton on defense. It makes it so that high velocity is much less powerful against you, and it gives you surges to use on defense and melee as well, which is more universally useful, in fact, than having block. Because you don't get the dodge tokens, and then you can't spend block. So I'd rather just have Reliable 2 than block any day of the week. That's just how the cookie crumbles. All right, So let's finish the card. Let's get close to finishing the card conversation by talking about the weapons. So I'm going to start with the weapon that I consider to be the one that makes me sad, which is single lightsaber. Single lightsaber gives you block, and then it has a critical 1 impact, 2 pierce 1, 2 red, 3 white, 1 black. They had to make it just slightly worse than Obi-Wan, but only slightly, so that we couldn't joke about it on this podcast. So good job doing that, AMG. This one is not very good, and I think that the main reason has to do with what the other options are. Option is, I might say. Anything else to say about single lightsaber?
Yes, but as part of my treatise,
I
have articulated a ton of math done in advance.
Let's get through the rest of the cards. Twin lightsabers. This is 4 white, 4 black. Impact 2, pierce 1, and high velocity is the interesting thing here. I think that this is the one that I consider to be sort of like the jank one that could be fun. And I'd say fun, probably certainly more fun than good in my opinion, if you were running it with a steady saber throw consular, that to be running around chucking 4 dice with high velocity. You would probably also have to have the Reliable 2 training on that guy in order to get utility out of it. And
I was going to say, if you want to be a non-surge to crit Cad Bane, like, this is the way to do it.
So that's the funny thing, is that even with all that investment, you end up with an attack that's high velocity Cad Bane. And Cad Bane is perhaps the most denigrated unique character in the game at the moment. He's like in sort of a race with Fifth Brother as far as like being the lowest on the totem pole. That's not the company that you really want to keep, but I can see the jank value at the very least for like just tossing high velocity sabers everywhere.
This is something fun to do in Tours of Duty.
Yeah, I think you can make a fun Tours of Duty situation with this. I totally agree with that. So here's the real moneymaker, though. Double-bladed lightsaber. If this unit has charge, it gains Tactical 1, an upgrade that Michael said on this very most recent podcast is not something that they would give to a Jedi. That's for Special Forces guys. So I'm just going to claim a small victory with that.
You can claim a small victory. I'm going to put that under flavor foul, but continue.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know. But I'll have something to say about that maybe. If it doesn't have charge already, then it gains charge. And so that's like the real thing about this, is that I mentioned earlier that it just doesn't feel like a Jedi if it can't double move into doing an attack with its lightsaber. And so, and I know that this is a part of your treatise, but it's one red, 2 black, 3 white, and then it has impact 2, pierce 1, and it also has ram 1, which on like a standard trooper base literally just means if you did a move, then you get to upgrade or you get to change any dice to whatever you want, right? Which means that you can change a blank into a crit.
Yes, which effectively makes this pretty much better than the other lightsaber. We'll get to all that. We'll get to all that.
So it has that instead of critical 1, and so there's not any natural surge conversion on this, but usually this is probably going to be paired with either the reliable training or Jedi Guardian. So you're going to have like a pretty modifiable dice pool, especially if you have tactical 1. So let's finish with a card talk, and then we can get to the treatise. Finally, we've been previewing it long enough. So command cards, there are 2 of them, just like everybody else. This one, just like with the droids, can be usable by both of the units, which is a nice change. So first one, Flow of the Force, is 1 pip. When you can order either the knight or the general, and then when a unit is issued an order, it may take a recover action. So that would be beginning of activation phase recover, which is always nice when you have a bunch of stuff you want to recover. And then it gains 1 aim, 1 dodge, and 1 standby token. It's basically Diet Hello There, except it's actually sometimes better than Hello There. I think it's a free recover with it.
I think it's better most of the time, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you won't be getting 6 dodge tokens out of it.
You're not immune, but the recover, I think, allows you to take a cheap Jedi with Force Push and not worry about Master of the Force, potentially. Like, if you use Force Push twice, I think that's probably fine.
It's a strong card that enables some tricks that would otherwise be tough to do.
Yeah, I don't think that this is like game breaky. It's fine.
I think it's just a good solid command card. And then the 3 pip Affirmative General, which orders 3 commander, operative, or clone trooper units. And when issuing orders with this card, you may choose to not issue up to 3 orders. Then for each order that is not issued in this way, choose a different allied Republic clone trooper unit without a face-up order token. It's so many words. Each chosen unit may make a speed 1 move and may remove up to 1 suppression token. So it's sort of like the mercenary command cards, where you can get more effects by choosing to order fewer things. The versatility in the things it can order is nice. There's a lot of lists where this is like the entirety of your list is available to be chosen as targets for the order, so that's certainly helpful. And then free moves are always good. I think there's a lot of potential here. I think it would take some planning to really get the full potential, but it's also probably a good utility belt card to keep for when you really need it, right?
Yeah. I think this card is maybe worth like throwing C's on whoever, like whatever Jedi you have in your list, and just make it
so you can move 3 clone troopers.
Yeah. I think that's probably worth it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Definitely, it's not like mind-blowing or anything, but it is definitely going to be a strong card for sure.
Yeah, like Leia's 2 pip still
good.
You know, it still can be game winning when it's used in the right situation, and so I feel like this is in that boat. And then you get the extra bonus of being able to remove a suppression. Like it's a bunch of little things that you can be picky and choosy about how you use them, and it's a really good versatility. I think is good to save until like the point of the game when you need it. Okay, so that's all the Jedi stuff. Mike, I yield the floor.
Thank you, Sir Evan. I really appreciate it. Before we start this conversation, I want to be really clear that I'm going to be a little bit more critical than I think I normally would be. This is my main faction. This is like the thing that I was like really hyped about. And I want to talk about the good things and the bad things.
Speak your truth.
Speak my truth. And I would like to, I'm going to kind of present it in, I don't know. Hopefully it's not super convoluted. I've got like a page and a half worth of stuff here to go through. But Evan, I would like to start with playing a little game.
Okay.
And this game is going to be, I'm going to give you a list of cards in Star Wars Legion. And I want you to tell me what the commonality is between all of them.
Okay.
The list.
I failed at this game when it was about units that had the ion keyword, but I'll see if I can do better this time.
There's like 15 to 20 things on this list. So if you can't at least get like halfway there, I'm gonna be sad.
That's fine. I'll just edit the segment later to make myself look smarter if I need to.
All right, great. Okay, let's start. This is gonna be maybe a minute or two reading these out. So, Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda, Ahsoka Tano, Padawan Commander, Ahsoka Tano, Jedi Padawan, Jedi Guardian, not the new one, Luke Skywalker, Hero of the Rebellion, Ahsoka Tano, Fulcrum, Luke Skywalker, Jedi Knight, Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Vader, the Emperor's Apprentice, Seventh Sister, Fifth Brother, Count Dooku, Asajj Ventress, Maul, Impatient Apprentice, and Maul Arrival. That's the list. What do they all have in common?
Well, they all have Force powers.
That's not true. Ahsoka Tano, Jedi Padawan, and the Jedi Guardian do not. You failed.
I've already failed. I'm gonna be honest, and this is how people are gonna know that I was actually just joking about the editing myself to look smarter part, because it's so many that. And I was thinking for a second, they don't all have a move and attack, because Dooku and Ahsoka, Republic Ahsoka Commander don't. They can get it from command cards once. So, yeah, I don't know. What are we getting at here?
Well, so there are two commonalities here.
Yeah.
The first is this is everyone with a lightsaber in the game.
Okay.
Literally.
So you did name the Inquisitors, right?
Yep.
Okay. I think I just have ear blindness to them for understandable reasons.
Yep. So this is everyone with a lightsaber in the game, not including the dark saber. That's not a lightsaber. Sorry, kids.
Yeah, it's literally a dark saber. Like, come on.
Second of all, everyone on this list can gain a attack action either through a command card effect for free, a command card effect, charge, or some other weird special rule that allows.
I was onto something there.
You were onto something there, right?
Okay.
They either have charge, they either have relentless, they have enrage, which gives them charge, they have Juyo, which allows them to make a free attack action or whatever action you want. But literally every Jedi in the game has the ability to get a free attack action in a turn, whether it's on a command card or not.
I'm actually going to add to that by saying that when you think of the melee, even not melee only, but melee focused unique characters, and I'm thinking about the Wookiee Chieftain, Chewbacca, Callus, like the ones that don't have lightsabers but that are punchy boys, all of them also have access to charge in some way.
That is fair. I wanted to focus on the actual like Jedi.
Sure.
Because I think you can make the case that like I don't know, like you could have a melee unit and not have charge or whatever, or like the thing is we are
some of like the individual minis, like the characters, you know?
Like, I'm talking I really want to hit home on the theme here, right? And it's like literally everyone with a lightsaber in the game can get charge.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say that it was like a completely missed opportunity here to not put this keyword on their unit card, but I do want to speak to the fact that there are only two ways to get this in this pack. That is on the Jedi Guardian upgrade, which, you know, you were sort of alluding to this already, the Jedi Guardian upgrade and the double-bladed lightsaber. I pretty strongly feel, considering that up until this point we have not had a Jedi in the game that does not have charge, and it is, I think we can all agree, a pretty insanely important part of their kit.
Yeah.
That you have to take one of those two upgrades when you take one of these characters.
I think that if you're trying to field an optimal list, I agree with you.
Yes. Yeah, I'm definitely I'm coming at this from a competitive bent. I think if you want to do whatever you want in Tours of Duty, like go for it. All the power to you.
Or if you want to do that high velocity steady thing, you know, like, and I'm sure you can do well with that, but yeah, like we're talking about if you're trying to win games and that is the main thing you're focused on, is you are funneled into those two upgrades.
Yeah. Which means that if you're only taking one of these, you kind of like you have to take either the Jedi Guardian or the double bladed. And I don't know about you, but I feel Having like 3 or 4 guys with double-bladed lightsabers just like feels kind of wrong. Like, just from like a theme perspective, don't get me wrong, double-bladed lightsabers are cool, but I would like an incentive to take the regular lightsaber, I think.
It feels right for the old Republic games. It doesn't feel right for most other media where like you will see Jedi show up with double bladed a bit in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Actually, the best example I can think of though is Pong Krell, who ended up being
Didn't he have the double bladed lightsaber?
He had double bladed.
Where's that option? AMG, come on.
Oh man, we're gonna get a Pong Krell with Ruthless eventually, and I'm gonna be really excited about it someday, AMG. But it's certainly not common, and it certainly was nowhere to be seen in the films, and so it does feel weird.
It feels weird, and I think the lack of like access to charge here feels doubly weird considering the following facts.
Yeah.
The Imperial Agent has Relentless natively on its unit card.
Yeah, that's still weird.
The Rebel Doctrine Reluctant Hero has Relentless on the Doctrine.
Yeah.
The Rebel Vibro Axe has Charge on the card. Like the Rebels literally have just as many options to get charged as the Jedi do. Like
yeah, and the Imperials don't need extra options.
The super tack literally is gonna, if you're taking a weapon, you're gonna have charge because the gun is bad. Like,
yeah.
So I think the Imperials, Rebels, and super tacks literally all have way more, what I would say, acceptable access to charge than the Jedi do, which feels really weird to me. I don't know. Like if you were gonna ask me, Mike, of the 3 packs that are about to be released, which one is gonna have the like most accessible, charge option? I would have told you the Jedi, duh, obviously, and it is the least.
When I saw that it was not printed on the card, my assumption was that, that means that they're going to give Relentless to one of them and then Charge to all of the rest of them.
Me too.
That was my baseline assumption when I saw this. Like, when we did that predictions episode, that's why I was like, well, the Guardian's the fighter guy, so they might give him Relentless so that he can, be saber throwing all over the place, and then everybody else will just get Charge.
Yeah.
I think, we were both assuming that, and yeah, that's not the case.
Not only that, I also want to talk about the lightsabers as a whole, and I just want to talk about their like stat profiles.
Yeah.
And I want to compare this to some of the other customizable stuff, and I also want to compare it to Anakin and Yoda.
Okay.
Just so that we have like kind of like a baseline for what these are doing. So I'm gonna list some stuff off here. Let me know if you want me to stop and like explain anything, because I will say that like I did not like go through and like do like computational math. This is like the napkin math that I would like do at a table to like figure out how much damage my arcs are potentially going to do in charging, right? So I'm going to start with the Imperial Stun Baton.
Okay.
Which has a 4-hit average, and this assumes no aim tokens, and if you don't have a way to like get critical or use Surge natively on your card, like I did not take that into account. So like this is not like considering the Jedi, if you're taking the Jedi Guardian and you're like surging everything up. With that being said, if you want to like consider that, generally the numbers will like go up 0.5.
Yeah,
roughly. So the Stun Baton has 4 hits on average, and I used a baseline because AMG really likes to be like, we figure everything out by how much damage it would do to a Stormtrooper unit. That's what I used.
Yeah.
4 hits average, 2 damage to Storms.
Yep.
The double-bladed lightsaber, I did 2 calculations for this, one with RAM, one without, because really you're probably only going to trigger RAM on the way in.
Yeah.
Is 2.5 hit average, you go +1 from RAM, and then that's 1.75 damage, plus Pierce is 2.75 Stormtroopers die to a double lightsaber attack when you're charging, when you're ramming.
And that's if you don't have tactical, right?
That is if you don't have tactical. Obviously, that would go up probably by like 1 if you had a name token.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and then also the lethal 1 option from
yes, yeah, no doubt. Like that
Guardian.
would, yeah.
That probably does kick it to 4.
Yes,
4 dead Stormtroopers. I mean,
for sure. Yes.
Yeah.
The normal lightsaber is 3.5 hits. That does factor in critical, and then it's 2.75 damage into storms with Pierce. Okay, so it's 3. You're killing half a stormtrooper squad on average.
That one feels very ouch,
right? Well, just wait. The twin lightsabers is a 3-hit average, and it's 2.5 damage into stormtroopers with Pierce. Again, this assumes you're not surging. Okay. Which again, this kind of goes back to why I was like, peacekeeping mission feels kind of obligatory, because it's the only way to get like surge to whatever without taking Jedi Guardian.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, so 2.5 damage into storms with Pierce, and then I want to give us a 5th weapon pool that I wanted to talk about, which is the thermal detonator melee profile on the rebel officer is 5.375 hits and 2.68 damage into stormtroopers, which is basically the same as these lightsabers after you factor in Pierce. So basically what I'm attempting to say here is that these lightsabers are roughly equivalent to their 70-point counterparts in Rebels and Empire with how much damage they do in melee.
Yes.
The reason
I don't like the fact that is the baseline. I agree with you there.
Yes.
You're paying significantly more for these guys.
I've seen a lot of people be like, oh, like these guys are so much cheaper over Anakin and Yoda. I'm not going to include Kenobi in this conversation because I think Kenobi's kind of a different animal because
he's different.
He's not a. It's just different.
He's a lover, not a fighter.
Yes. yeah. So I also want to talk about Anakin and Yoda's pools, right? So Anakin is 4.375 hits into storms, and his expected damage output, technically, with the way I did it, is like 5.18 when you factor in Pierce. But obviously,
expected dead unit.
It's you expect the unit to die. Right? Yoda is a 3.5 hit average. I'm looking at the lightsaber, and his expected damage is 3.75 due to Pierce. Both of those units without a command card can use that profile twice in a turn. So you can kind of double down on that, right? And if
double attack with Yoda or attempt it with Anakin.
And with Anakin, if you play as one pip, you can do it 3 times.
Maybe 3 times.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So like I wanna just like put that out there because I think the comparison of being like, oh man, I hear a lot of people saying like this is just like a lesser Anakin, and it's like no, it's not even remotely close to the amount of damage that you're gonna do. That's what I have to say about that. I'm really just kind of saying this to kind of like put together some data points on like how I'm feeling about this pack, and then we can like coalesce it at the end. But do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, so the fact that, as you said, that like the baseline damage potential of a non-guardian, non-reliable to single-bladed lightsaber is what did you say? That one was 2.75 dead stormtroopers on average?
Like the regular lightsaber?
Like single-bladed with nothing else.
Yep, 2.75.
Yeah, I mean, so like that is barely more that's barely more than the thermal detonator.
Yeah.
Attack.
By like 0.1.
Yeah. And it doesn't, so like that part doesn't feel great, and like that gets to what I consider to be the real downside is the fact that you do feel funneled from a competitive standpoint into making that attack more reliable.
Yeah.
By giving yourself the combination of a move and attack and surge to hit and the extra lethal and tactical from the combo, especially of Guardian plus double bladed, is what gives you access to Pierce 2. It gives you the extra aim token on top of that you could spend if you're double moving into charge, and that's the thing that like gives you the quote unquote real lightsaber attack, is combining those two things. Yeah. But you do feel very funneled, and just you're right. The fact that move and attack is not universal, it feels rough.
It's interesting. So I don't want to like barrel down on this too hard, but I want to go into the next part of my treatise, which is I want to talk about what I would describe as new or game-breaking effects that are when I say game-breaking, I don't mean it's bad. I mean it kind of breaks the mold out of things that you could do before these came out and after.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to kind of quickly list some stuff off. If you want me to stop, let me know. But
this is great.
Yeah. So we've got Rebels have access to, I'm also including command cards that are like pretty unique in this. Battlefield Reconnaissance, 2-pip, like that's an effect that's like has not really been seen before with addition of past token. They've got Frontline Commander, which is the Dauntless bubble. They have Proven Tactician, which is the Reinforcements bubble. They have Unseen Saboteur, which is giving a unit other than yourself prepared positions at the start of the game, and you can decide what that unit is at the start of the game.
A huge one, potentially. Yeah.
I included Reluctant Hero in here in that it gives your unit Infiltrate and Relentless. We could maybe leave that off the list as it's maybe not that big a deal, but
those are just keywords at the end of the day. Yeah. So we've seen them before.
For sure. Empire has Command and Control uplink. They have
pretty good.
Defend in Depth, which is Vigilance for aims.
Yeah.
And then they have Inexorable Advance, which is the 3-pip. Again, this is maybe one that is like more tenuous to be on the list in that it's not really an effect we've seen, but I'm also not sure how good it is. Moving to CIS, we have a bunch. We have Limited Override, which allows you to recover cards, gain remove tokens as a free action. Definitely really haven't seen that, at least in this capacity. We have Overclock, which is a guidance free action. Basically, we have Sliced Comms to kick an order back as a free action. We have Targeting Relay, which is basically covering your opponent's army and mass observation tokens. And I included Tactical Download here because I just think it's good. And it is so much better than everything else as far as command cards go that I feel like it deserves to be on this list. If we want to take the rest of the command cards off, that's fine. But this is like so good that I'm like, oh. Now we're that's how I feel about it. Now we're gonna get to Republic. Jedi Training Force Adept. You get your
you can exhaust instead of expend. So that is a new mechanic.
It is a new mechanic. And then we have Affirmative General, which allows you to give speed 1 moves to your clones.
Those, as far as I'm aware, I agree, are the only 2 like brand new mechanics that are introduced with the Jedi customizables.
Do you feel like I missed anything
for the new mechanics?
Yeah.
No, because everything else is giving you keywords and slots and search conversion. Like as far as the train, like a couple of them give weapons that are sort of so. But everything else it's just keywords. It's a lot of like mixes of keywords.
Yeah. So this is kind of like the stage 1 end of the treatise. There's one more thing I want to talk about, which I'll talk about after I start discussing my feelings, and you can discuss your feelings too. Look, I think everybody deserves to have cool stuff. I think that everybody should be like, oh, I'm playing Faction X, and like this thing is really cool. I will say that I do think that of these first initial customizables, the Jedi were supposed to be a kind of the flagship release. From like a coolness standpoint, right? And I want to be really clear, the models are sick. All the models are sick, frankly.
Yeah.
But like models knocked it out of the park. I think as we termed earlier, extremely whelmed at this pack's options. And I want to be clear that I think that it's entirely possible that the Jedi Guardian double bladed lightsaber combo is competitively viable, and there might even be a couple other options in here that are competitively viable. But I think what I would want to say,
I could see General Republic being viable also.
Yeah, I think it's very possible, But what I want to say is that I'm not excited about the gameplay ramifications outside of I get to put more than one Jedi in my list, maybe, of this pack, and like 9 times out of 10, from a correctness standpoint, competitively, because there's nothing like really cool and unique in this pack, I probably should just take a Guardian and an ARC Trooper unit. But oh wait, I should probably take a Medic instead. So I don't know. They could be good, but I'm disappointed, and I wanted to say that out loud, and I wanted to be truthful about it because I think that we should be allowed to voice our disappointment.
Well, you're certainly allowed on this podcast.
Yeah. It's our podcast, damn it.
And I think that you're being very fair, and that you're not using like bombastic terms to talk about this, and that we definitely don't like doing that, and so
sometimes I do. I'm intentionally trying not to here.
You're doing a good job, and I'm sure that we're going to hear feedback in the comments. And I do hope that we have an opportunity to talk to AMG about this at some point as well. But I'm going to say this: I thought that all of the customizables were going to be, short of the not getting charged thing, that all of the customizables would be in this similar boat to the Jedi in terms of the options. I thought it was going to be a game of mixing and matching statistics and keywords.
Yes.
When we saw the Rebel and Empire one, my hopes did actually go up substantially, because I did not expect that these packs would have a lot of new gameplay effects. And then the SuperTac one technically came last out of all of these. I was like, that made me like retrospectively look back at the Jedi especially and go, that, here's the most bombastic thing I'll say for the whole episode, is that I feel like CIS got better force powers than the Jedi did.
Yeah. I think it's very fair to look at it that way, and I'm happy for the CIS players. I think that's really cool. I think they got a really cool new customizable unit. And I'm not saying that we didn't, to be clear. But
I think we both just wanted more gameplay variety from this, than a keyword and stat smorgasbord, which is most of what we get. And like you mentioned, the biggest caveat to that is the exhaust instead of expend.
Yes.
Right now, that is only for 3 upgrades, and there's the only one of those that you could make, in my opinion, an argument is something that could be useful all the time, is that being able to clairvoyance all the time does seem like it could be a pretty good statistics effect. Potentially.
It's only good if you're getting attacked, though, because you're not going to attack more than once a turn.
Right. But normally you would be expending that, and so every turn you attack, you get a reroll, is like a way you can think about it, right? If you're Master of the Forcing it.
Assuming that's what you're Master of the Forcing, which I think is potentially dubious.
That is also very fair, to be honest with you. And so in the future, there could be more force powers that make Force Adept more interesting.
Yes.
And it's already like kind of interesting, but it could become really interesting from a list building perspective. But even then, and that's the most significant like new effect that Republic has, it's not that compelling.
There's not really much choices or creativity that you can kind of build into it, right?
Yeah.
At least right now. It's it's possible that we see a bunch of new Force upgrades in a couple months, right? Like that's very possible.
5 programming slots. 7 options.
Yeah. And I think the reason that I went through and I kind of like, listed all the stuff about charge and all of the stuff about the damage on the lightsabers is because at the end of the day, what the Jedi end up being is more cost-efficient options than like Anakin and Yoda. But the issue is that they are nowhere near as effective as what they like lose all of the command cards, and
which is huge, especially for Yoda.
Yeah, and like all of the like Tempted and Ataru and all of that stuff.
The Masteries, which didn't show up here.
And you would think that maybe they would do like somewhat similar to damage in the one attack that they get a turn, but they don't even, they get like half. like it's, it's not, they're not a chargy stats stick that you throw in there and like they kill stuff. Like these are about as effective as like a Wookiee chieftain, which is to say, I'm just being honest, like,
no, I'm just saying that's pretty deep insult to these Jedi.
Hey,
to give them that label.
Yeah. So, I do want to bring up something that I'm actually upset about, though.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. This Jedi pack has 2 Jedi. Where are the Master and Apprentice cards? Where are the teamwork cards? Where are the things in this pack that allow me to make a Jedi Master and their Padawan? Like, what? Like, I understand that you can be like, narratively, this is the Master and this is the Padawan. But like, we didn't get any new cool unique effects, really. Why couldn't like that seems like a very easy in or thing to focus on. And if you're ever gonna do it, It's going to be in a customizable pack that has 2 Jedi miniatures in it. This seemed like a home run, sweep it out of the park, like inject it with like incredible theme that we just kind of like missed the narrative boat on. Am I being too sensitive here, Evan? I don't know.
I guess like from my standpoint, I didn't get the feel that was necessarily the intent. I think that the intent.
I'm not arguing that was the intent. I don't think it was the intent.
You're saying it's a missed opportunity.
Yes,
but,
yes.
Like I think that there would still be an opportunity in the future, because like I could easily see a customizable Padawan that can actually even potentially either be its own very tiny operative, or even like have a counterpart version.
Sure.
And so like there's definitely the space is still open for that. And I think that they were probably like there were all sorts of reasons why they decided to call the commander Jedi Knight General instead of Jedi Master.
Sure. Yeah.
And then, the operative is just plain Jedi Knight. So it's like literally the only difference between them is one of military designation, and that's it. They're theoretically both equally skilled in other ways, but yeah, there's still room for that. Even I could hear the argument that would have been too much to cram into this, but given the fact that, again, there are not as many unique effects as we would have wanted, it just sort of like raises the hunger for it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess maybe I am, because I'm feeling disappointed. I'm like, why couldn't we have gotten that? I don't know. It just feels like an easy slam dunk in a pack that is outside of the really awesome miniatures, kind of just like,
yeah. So to tie it all up, like, hey, we're both going to be trying these guys out. Like, I think especially in my case, in the context of Tours of Duty, which is going to be a whole different thing.
Tours of Duty is going to be great. I'm so excited to talk about that.
And actually, it'll be Isaiah who's doing the Jedi. I'll be rolling around with these totally fine super tactical generics, and but I'll be trying them at game nights, and like we're gonna start getting experiences with these, and then like we will report back to the listeners and viewers about how we think of them in practice. And so like we're not just like dropping bombs and moving on with our lives. Like we're gonna be digging into this. But yeah, I do think there are some missed opportunities here. But I think that there's definitely still some things that I'm looking forward to trying out. But one can be a little bit wistful.
I mean, I'm gonna buy the pack and I'm gonna play the crap out of them.
Yeah,
that's gonna be a thing.
Yeah.
We didn't really mention it yet, but I mean, this is going to be the cheapest Master of the Force place where you can put a Force push. That's not nothing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to attach, upgrades chosen totally at random. That if you had a Jedi Knight General with Jedi Guardian and Force push and double-bladed lightsaber. And again, the Jedi General has natural Master of the Force. Even if let's just toss in the peacekeeping mission to get some reliable 2 action. That's 163 with Force push.
Yes,
and so that's not bad. And it's got charge. It's gonna have good mods on its charge, and it's gonna have Force push, and it's gonna have surge tokens on defense, even in melee. Like
for 27 points more.
Yeah.
You can just have Yoda with Force push.
Yeah. And so 27 is like, that's like, it's not nothing, but it does feel like you're getting a major upgrade.
It's like it might not even be particularly close.
There you go. And to be fair, that's a Yoda without burst that has Force push.
It is, sure. 37. 37.
Yeah.
Great.
37 to get it to burst push. And
a whole Ahsoka Tano unit upgrade.
This is a weird game right now.
Less than Echo.
But yeah. And should also mention we're expecting new generic upgrades to come out in November. And it's certainly possible that there could be more Force powers in that list, and that would change the math of this a little bit.
I do think the silver lining here,
yeah,
is that because of the way that they've designed this,
Yeah.
They can fix all of these problems by just releasing new upgrade cards, right? Like it is a fixable problem that if they wanted to,
yeah,
they could provide a solution for if it is actually a problem. Like if it is beyond Mike's perceived, like, oh, I'm disappointed, and they're like, oh, the Jedi Knight's not performing to the way that we wanted it to, they could easily add more Jedi trainings that were better, right? I think that's kind of unlikely, but I don't know. I could see them potentially taking that avenue. I mean, that's what Imperial March is, and Dug In and Strike and Fade and stuff like that, you know?
And on top of that, any new force power that comes out can potentially multiply the value, certainly of Force Adept, but even just like of all of these. Of course, that also increases the value of the actual named Jedi, which, you know, is sort of like what comes up there. But they do get better with every new force power in a way that is different from the programming slot, where assumingly there are not going to be even more programmings released for the generic super text in the future. Like, this is going to be what they get, and whereas the force power is just going to grow and grow as time goes on. So
probably, yes.
I'm trying to be fair here.
Yeah. No, I think that's a fair assessment. You know, it's really tough to say without, you know, looking into the mystic crystal ball. That's like, these are all the force upgrades you're going to get over the next 4 years. You know, like I would say I don't know when the last time we got a force. I mean, I guess. Sorry. When I say I don't know when the last time we got a force upgrade is, I guess it's not
3 months ago.
I guess it's not totally fair, but the new force upgrades are bad enough that I just don't think you take them.
Well, the dark side one is. The other two have a use, but they ain't force push. But hey, maybe that just means that the next ones are actually going to be more substantial.
That's possible, yeah.
All right, so is that it? Is that all you have to say, Mike?
I mean, that's all I've like written down.
Yeah.
I think I am generally excited to mess around with the customizables. I definitely think I'm going to be messing around with Rebels because I think their stuff is probably the most interesting from what I want to mess around with. You know, I think they've got, like, don't get me wrong, the super tack is definitely like the most powerful as far as like unique game breaking effects go, but I think the Rebel one is more, it's just more interesting. You can do weird stuff, you know?
Yeah. The Rebel is the one where experimenting, I think, will be the most fun.
I think if I was getting ready for Adepticon, I'd definitely be playing a super tack list for sure.
The weight of where points land in a little over a month is going to be just substantial.
Yes, it is.
When it comes to CIS especially, which is going to be content for another episode. So we were going to talk about Crucible today, but that we got through our opinions on these new cards and that we got through the Treatise, because that was the thing that we had foremost on our minds. Crucible is interesting in the fact that there's definitely going to be some games to talk about from a strategy standpoint and to talk about the interesting things you saw there. But from a meta standpoint, given that is one of the focuses of this cast, it actually ends up being kind of weird because the Crucible meta is imminently going to be over when Rebel Imperial customizables become legal in full. So, and I want to give it its due time.
We'll talk about that too.
Yeah. So I want to be able to give it all its due time, and so for that reason, we're going to be tabling that for next week. We're also going to be doing some Hondo Anaka talk next week, and then who knows what else. I think we may even have a certain villain/enemy of the podcast who is going to be joining us for that discussion, which will make things extra spicy.
Yeah, I got to go out in the woods and find him.
He's in the woods?
I mean, he's probably in a trap somewhere, right?
That's true. I was going to say, like, if he's in the woods, then those woods should be patrolled. You know, there should be signs up to keep vulnerable people away. Lest he stomps on the table as he laughs at them for the gameplay mistakes that they made.
That's why we put the bear traps in the woods. You know,
a bear trap is like a unit card for the X-34, where it's like 30 points less, and you put that in the bear trap, or like some other broken BS, whatever he would be into. So,
have you ever played Twilight Struggle?
Twilight Struggle? No, I haven't played that one.
There's a card in it that's called Bear Trap. It's so good. Anyways, if you haven't played it, we won't go.
Is it a trap that releases a bear?
No, it is. Twilight Struggle is a simulation of the Cold War.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds thrilling.
It's super, yeah.
Each game takes 70 years. There's a couple wars in between.
It's about
from a tabletop standpoint, it's like getting close. Okay, but yeah, well, we're gonna have some good stuff to talk about next week. But let's end this week with checking in with our very favorite droid, C3LP. That is Clanker content creation for lazy podcasters. And we're again using AI to drive conversation. That is not AI content, is it? I don't know. We're not like narrating AI. We're not using an AI to talk for us. So I feel like we're still on the light side here. And we've also used many of these opportunities to point out the fact that AI is being oversold to the rest of the world. So today, what does C3LP tell us to talk about? And what does it say about those things?
Yeah, so C3LP is telling us to talk about the B1 battle droid unit.
Bias much?
Well, you know.
C3LP?
Sometimes when you tell a Clanker to tell you about a random unit in Star Wars Legion, it's going to give you a Clanker. So C3LP thinks that there are 7 droid miniatures per unit. So we're off to a good start.
Sure.
36 points base.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was. There was a time.
You know, they got the wounds right, courage right. Each has an E5 blaster rifle, range 1 to 3, 1 black die.
Whoa.
That unit would be awesome. So much better.
Are you kidding me?
And I think here's what C3LP has to say about the strengths and weaknesses of the B1 battle droids. Dirt cheap, lots of bodies, great for objectives, overwhelming fire through sheer dice pools. Excellent at soaking up shots that would have otherwise hit your expensive units. They are individually fragile. They have poor courage, and without orders, they're predictable thanks to AI.
Oops.
They're the meat shield and activation padding of the CIS, but in swarms they become dangerous, especially when supported by leaders like General Grievous, Count Dooku, or tactical droids.
This is the old theory that being hit by 20 ping pong balls is the equivalent of 1 cannonball.
The answer is it's not.
Correct. Yeah, black dice and B1s would be pretty good. Then they would basically be they would be clone troopers on attack.
I did think it was interesting in the upgrade section. It suggests the HQ uplink so you can order chain.
Yeah, so I wonder how it's not like we should be arrogant enough as a website to say, well, they're probably cribbing a lot from the TFT blog for this stuff. But there probably is there's probably a decent amount that's being cribbed from TFT blog.
It's probably
because Kyle was writing that from the beginning, and so there's still a lot of Kyle articles out there, and it's definitely non-zero when it's pulling from that, and probably the reason why it talks about 7 minis and It's definitely mixing up the black dice from the E5C with the native white dice. And so, and then for the 7 minis, it's because there were certainly many times when putting a heavy in each one of them was just like the thing that you did. There was an era of 6 E5S being the appropriate choice
100%.
for the B1 battle droid. So yeah, again, a sort of accurate, but also very inaccurate description. Yeah, B1s are good. We actually just recorded a mini on the B1 battle droid because we recorded minis for most of the core set core units, 2 different words. Wait for the Festivus episode for more on that one. Where we cover the strategy aspects, so we're not going to double up on it here. But hey, B1s are good. They always have been. And is that true? Have they always been good?
Yeah,
I think
there's never been a point where CIS lists were don't take B1s. You know, I would say if anything, they're probably at their lowest point in takeability right now that they've ever been. I don't think they're bad, but there are other decent options available now.
I think it is a 33% all around pie chart Maybe it's like 45 for the Geonosian Warriors.
I think it's like 40, 40, 20 with B2s being at 20.
Yeah. I think that's probably like the fairest. At beginning of 2.6, I think a lot of folks were sort of so hyper-focused on the B2s that they were like, B1s,
they were
thing of the past.
They were high on those super squads, and then they realized they were too expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what do you do?
Yeah, turns out order chaining, still solid. Yep. Their heavy weapons have seen better days. I think that much is true.
I think that is a universally true statement with some marked exceptions.
Yeah.
For all factions and most units.
Yeah. I think that what's funny is that the biggest exceptions are the 2 ion weapons that go on course, are the things that are just like you never ever saw before, and now you see them all the time now. But a lot of the other ones that used to be popular are now not so much. And then, of course, the E60R was the biggest downgrade of any heavy weapon when we switched to 2.6.
Well, I actually thought it was interesting. I know we're not talking about Crucible today, but I didn't bring a single heavy weapon to Crucible. Isn't that a little bit weird to think about?
That is strange, although, one can argue that the medic functions as a heavy and the ARC trooper, from a certain point of view, some would say. Yeah.
Sorry. I had a really awesome experience this weekend.
Okay.
I got to watch all of Star Wars with my niece, which I don't know if I just giving the love of Star Wars to like young people that you're teaching about this cool thing you have is.
That sounds really awesome.
It was amazing. She's like, Vader's Luke's dad. It was mind blowing.
I'm so jealous of that experience.
Sorry. Something you said there reminded me of it. So we watched Return of the Jedi too, which in hindsight maybe was more adult than should have been viewed as in contrast to the other 2 movies. But what do you do?
I mean, they almost eat everybody. The Ewoks do. Like, that's what you're talking about, right?
No, I'm not. I just like there's but
yeah. I mean, that's awesome. Yeah, like it's good to get reminded that there's still magic out there for those of us who, have been like embroiled in the magic for a long time.
Who are disenfranchised that their Jedi customizables were what they wanted.
Disenfranchised, disillusioned, disheartened. You take your pick. So yeah, like that. That's a good thing to end on.
Yeah.
Is a positive note, and therefore I expect all the comments to be positive as well.
Oh, I mean, look, guys, rip it up, do your thing.
Comment, do whatever you want as long as you're respectful. Like that's the universal truth. And
I would love to hear people that maybe feel different about the Jedi customizable packs. Kind of like I don't want to use the word rebuttal because I think I'm definitely right, but I would love to hear your opinions and your takes on how you feel maybe after listening to that, and if you feel like we're dead wrong or if we're I don't know.
Yeah, so like you just said, tell us why Mike is wrong, is the moral of the story. Listen, we didn't even have time for the correction segment where we've actually like built up a few that we're gonna go over it next time.
Oh boy,
because I actually have like a few in the can, and I think we were even gonna make it a regular segment. Even had to pick out some music for it, but something to look forward to is areas where either one of us, some might say, or maybe both of us were wrong about something.
By either one of us, he really means just him.
No, there's one for you.
One.
There is. I think there's just one right now.
Single.
It's usually me, though.
Solitary.
Okay, but thank you, everybody, for listening. We really appreciate it, and we are looking forward to seeing you next time. Mike, how do we land the plane?
Yeah, this has been the Notorious Scoundrels, Season 4, Episode 32.
I'm Evan.
Stay fresh, cheese bags.